Hey guys, and welcome to the new episode of Automated Seller Podcast. Today I'm here with Ali, a Chief Evangelist Officer at Trellis. Hey Ali, how are you?
Great. Jacob, how you doing today?
I'm doing good, thanks. Yeah, Ali, thanks for being here. And I would
Having
love
me.
to start. I would love to start basically with a quick question to you. Like, could you introduce yourself and Trellis to the audience?
Yeah, my name is Ali. I'm the chief evangelist here at Trellis, and Trellis is an e-commerce merchandising platform. We're carving out our own category within the tooling space of Amazon, as well as supporting various other marketplaces, including Walmart. But we're all about driving profitable growth for all of our sellers across the entire demand side of the customer journey there. And so
And
a lot of different words in there that mean so many different things, but it's hard to encapsulate how we do all of that without driving it in that direction.
But is it the tool mostly for Amazon sellers, or would you consider it also to be used by Amazon agencies?
Yes, we work with both agencies. We power the operations for agencies as well as powering the operations for brands as well. And so on both sides of the spectrum, our platform looks to enable and solve for a lot of the problems that both of those markets or both of those kind of customers of ours actually face as well. And it's and driving it successfully. I think we're just looking at our most recent numbers, still growing at about 100%. So that's a nice growth trajectory, and people are we're definitely driving profits for a lot of these organizations.
hmm
So it's fun.
Totally.
Yeah.
I'll ask you for the features just in a moment. But before that, I know that you are actually like you were a business owner before. You were running a similar
Yeah.
agency that we are running right now, so a digital software agency. And I really wonder, before we continue on a Trellis features, what was the reason of your transition actually?
Yeah, it's well that question gets a little bit philosophical there too, but prior to this I ran an agency across the entire digital space, whether it be building digital products, marketing those products, working with brand owners to across various marketplaces, towards evolving those and seeing what we can do there. And so agency life is fun. I'm sure you know a lot about it, and kind of living it through and through, and working with so many different agencies, you can kind of see how people are passionate about it towards it too. And I am, and I was, and I still am to this day. But a lot of the transition for me came down to, and a lot of other agency owners will probably relate to this if you're listening to this too, but it's really the quality of life, right? That at a certain point you spend a lot of time running an agency is um, time consuming, right? And being at the top of that, you're often the one fielding all the phone calls. You're fielding and putting out all the fires, and it's exciting to do. It's exciting to grow, and it's exciting to build cool shit. To be quite honest, right? Whether it be building it from net new or getting it in front of the end customers and people who actually need those, whether it be products or whatever, or digital products or physical products, it didn't really make a difference. But um, doing it for 8 years and running at the pace that I was running at, some in my family and people around me would call it not necessarily the most healthy thing for me at a certain point. But it gets, when you start, when it's your baby, you care about it a lot and you want to see it succeed. And so the transition for me was, and why I say it's philosophical is that um, at a certain point, it's choosing yourself. Let's go with, and how you spend your time, more so than letting the business drive me. And so, doesn't mean I'm out of agencies forever. Probably not. I still work a lot with a lot of the agencies that leverage our
Oh
platform,
yeah.
and I love to do so. But it's working with an organization like Trellis, and coming into here, and when we sunsetted the agency, and supposed to, me and my business partner were supposed to take a year off, and actually enjoy time, and figure out what to do with our time that wasn't the agency as well. Trellis actually was a very interesting place for me to come into, where it intersected the notion of building cool shit and technology that doesn't exist on the market
hmm
today, but also at the same time leveraging that ethos and that similar vision of how do we solve some of the most burning problems that these brands are facing, and having a more nuanced version towards that, or nuanced vision towards that, and then being able to enable that with, as an organization, but also as a culture within the
hmm
organization, that our customers are the most important thing to us, and solving their problems, whether it be a brand or it be an agency, and doing so at scale in a way that enables them to consistently grow for themselves, which trickles down to the people that work there. Like, and a brand or an organization is nothing but a grouping of people,
Mm-hmm.
right? And
100%.
fundamentally, and so with the ability for that organization to grow, that brand to grow, you end up solving for their customers, but also the end people to attain their goals, their visions. And so we at Trellis, and part of the reason I really liked the organization here and came on in this capacity as a senior leader here was to that we're only enabling that in a different scale as well. So it stayed true to who I was, straight to who I am and where I like to go. And um, building cool tech, it's everyone's building something.
Oh
To be
yeah,
quite honest,
totally.
and marketing
I
something.
really like it. I mean, yeah, agency business, like service based businesses, it's tough. It's definitely tough. You always go with your clients, and then at some point you cannot have the capacity for more clients. And I'm not gonna lie, I know a lot of agency business owners, and even myself, we are all jealous of SaaS business owners or SaaS businesses, right? They're
Yeah,
like much sexier. You can scale, but of
yeah,
course, they are like totally different problems that you have to face. You cannot be
yeah,
profitable from day one when you run the SaaS agency. A SaaS
business.
company, like
Yeah,
the whole product market fit. This is like crucial part to go through, right? You may build a product that no one will use, but when you run the agency you can be profitable from day one. But then of course there are different problems when it comes to scaling also. Like you always need, you basically there are two problems. You either have too many projects and not so many developers or like people who
yeah,
can
yeah.
help you, or the other way around, right? So I would say it's easier, but also like if you want to build like a very proper agency and scale to like 100 200 employees,
Yeah.
it's a very hard game. So
Yeah, and it's no different actually in the same way, right? Like each one has its own nuances, right? Running an agency or running a SaaS company, right? And like each one, you're always fighting for the same thing: customers or people. And you're doing it at different times and different horizons. And brands are no different as well, right? That there's always new competitors coming in, right? There's always new agencies starting up and playing in a similar space that you're playing in. The cost of doing so is only going up, right? That we always believed in a fair wage for our staff, but at the same time, with more competitors, becomes more competition to go after and find great talent to be able to support that. But similarly for brands, right? That
oh yeah.
more competition, similar products. What's your differentiation? How do you structure that? And what is that? And you start getting margin pressures all the way through, right? Things cost more. Everything keeps going up, right? It's I think in the last couple of years we've all faced the cost going up across the
Hmm.
board in so many different ways. It's all very similar problems, but to your point, at different life cycles and different stages of the business and where you're going. But
Hmm.
bringing it today and bringing it to brands and agencies, everyone's trying to kind of solve that piece. And when it comes to selling on Amazon, it's trying
Yeah,
to figure out that piece that there's more competitors, there's costs are only going up, and there's more and more fees. Let's go with as a result of that too. So
100%.
it's interesting. And so then a lot of the software that you build is helps to automate some of those components, right?
Yes, we are focusing on helping sellers, agencies. I mean, pretty much all of the businesses around Amazon and other marketplaces. I don't want to say
Yeah.
only Amazon, like our niche are marketplaces, but
Yep.
obviously Amazon is the biggest one, and that's where all of our clients comes from.
Yep.
And I can tell you one thing. I mean, this is a very funny thing, but because there are so many tools that solve so many problems that Amazon sellers
Yep.
have, and obviously there's always a new company that wants to build this new product that will solve some problem.
Yeah.
But the thing is that at some point, by running a product company, right, like a SaaS, you cannot serve all of your clients equally. I mean,
No.
you know the best that you have bigger clients, you have smaller clients, and they all come with custom requests. And obviously,
Yeah.
you cannot serve them all. That's why you will always need an agency who will come and solve those unique needs, tailored and made the tailored solutions. We are
Yeah.
not
And that's
always building also like the solutions from scratch, because that's also what I'm talking to our clients. Hey, if there's a very good company, for example, like you, Trellis, which can solve a lot of problems with the advertisement, why would we build it from scratch? What we can
Yeah,
do is we can go check your processes, see how you are using Trellis, and then
yeah.
just automate some part of that. Build like a microservice, connect to other tools that you are using. I'm not sure if Trellis have the API, or do you guys
We don't, not yet.
not yet? But yeah, if you were, if you had that, then we could, integrate with that and just solve some small problem of the organization that is facing it. So there will be always need for both, and both always won't solve all of the problems that are in the space.
Yeah, and that's kind of it, right? Like there's a reason that agencies exist. There's a reason these tool provider like platforms like us exist as well. And that intermediary where you're not able to, as a brand, necessarily pick up and build that skill internally, or build the right process or build the right infrastructure internally. That's where you kind of look at that intermediary, and agency kind of looks to solve for that, whether it be the development side that you look at, or whether it be from a content perspective, or managing kind of your ads or whatever it may be. But fundamentally, what's true across all of it is that has Amazon has developed and marketplaces have developed. There's so much data available to you, right? That 5 years ago you could run your entire Amazon business off spreadsheets, and I guarantee there are brands today that still do that.
Yeah, I just wanted to tell you that.
Right? Like you could do that. You could brute force your way, hard work, brute force your way, and you would be able to be successful on Amazon. That's not the case anymore. There's so much more data available to you that you need to understand, react, analyze, and then action upon as well. But then there's an interconnectedness between, okay, well, I have this data for about my, let's go with my price, right? But what does that mean towards my advertising? If I change my price, how does my advertising change as a result of that? Because if I lower my price and my budget's the same, all of a sudden I
Mhm.
have no margin for that month, right? And most people don't figure that out until they get their payout statements. Like, hey, I wasn't gonna make any money, right?
Yeah.
And that's too late at that point, right? And so connecting those elements, whether it be through custom software into a platform like ours, or looking at it from a holistic perspective, that you if you're not leveraging automation or um, any type of platform that will enable you to ingest that data and give you the ability to action that and leveraging that analysis on that platform for yourself, you're leaving money on the table. That's just a fact. Like
Yes,
it's just a
that's
fact.
100%. And that's
Yeah.
actually a very good transition to the next question, because I just
Yeah.
wanted to ask you, for the main features of a Trellis platform, like
Yeah.
how are you helping sellers with your piece of tech?
Yeah, and so a lot of that, the main problem that our platform looks to solve is what we see today. And I'll start with the problem, and I'll talk to the features as a result of that. But the main problem that we see today is that Amazon, at this point, as we've seen, I think from 2016 to today, has gone from their fees going from about 35% at that point to about 50%. So for every dollar, for every sale that happens on Amazon, you're sufficiently giving back, whether it be through advertising, FBA, referral. You add all those up, about 50 cents of every dollar is going towards Amazon there. And so you have you're getting less and less room as time goes on to find that profit, to find that, and those dollars that will end up in your pocket. And so if we look at that as the top level, most view, and then we look at the secondary part of that, saying that there's so much data available, combining those two pieces together and saying, well, how do I drive profitable revenue growth for my brand? That's fundamentally the goal, right? That any brand can go and say,
Yeah.
I'm going to throw X amount of dollars at ads. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that, and I can drive growth. But profitable growth is the key here,
I
and
mean, it
driving that.
is investment, right? So you expect some return on that.
Exactly, exactly. And so, how do I get that investment, that return, and making sure that I'm actually keeping as much of that dollar in my pocket as I possibly can? And that's where our platform and the vision of, or that problem, and seeing that those rising costs came from that. Well, let's look at what we do, right? So we look at kind of e-commerce merchandising as a whole, and if you're familiar with merchandising within a retail space, and I think most people are, right? You go into a grocery store, you know that the people who are at your eye level on the shelf are paying more for that
Yeah.
placement, or if they're putting in an end cap, as it's called, right at the end of the aisle, and they have a big poster and board, and then they have all their products there as well. They're paying more for that placement, and so we looked at, and then you look at your product and your content there as well, and all of these, and whether there's a promotion, for example, right? You see the coupons that you see in your grocery store flyer, or you see it right on the actual price itself. all four of those are really what's driving the demand side of your business, right? Being your, what's the price of your product? What's the content on Amazon, your product content, your placement being your advertising, and your promotion being your coupons and your deals. That, and so our platform is an e-commerce merchandising platform which looks at all four of these and connects the four of these together to be able to action either one of these four P's at any given point in time to see what's working for you and what's not working for you, right? That if I'm getting a high ACOS, and I think ACOS is the death of brands, but that's a whole nother topic. If I'm getting a high ACOS, then that could entirely be because I don't have the right targeting. It could be because my content's not in the right place, or my price isn't the same, isn't as competitive as my competitors' prices are, but I'm still getting in front of that audience, right? So
Mm-hmm.
there's different solutions across all four of those P's, and there's different levers you're pulling across all four of those P's at any given point in time to drive your revenue. And so
Mm-hmm.
the core features of what we offer is really those four P's, and what is called e-commerce merchandising, to help solve and drive profit at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. I really like this approach. Actually, I think it's also very different from many other platforms that I've seen. There's a lot of AI platforms that just only check the numbers of the actual ad spend, the return, and
Yeah,
sales. But you're
yeah,
actually having totally different like approach to that. Like this
yeah,
the 4 piece framework
yeah,
seems like totally new approach to me. So I really like it. Also for not so long, but when I first realized about how this works in retail stores in real life, right? Not online, it blew my mind. I mean, so many times I had this last sneakers that I just bought when I wanted to finish shopping, right? And only
yeah.
because of the placement of that. So this
And that's it.
definitely is super important in the online space as well.
It's huge.
S-
And so how do you leverage that, right? Like if we look at like placement, I think that there's a lot of it. To your point, we're driving a category that doesn't exist within platforms right now. Is our advertising and our placement solution comparable and better than the rest? Maybe fine, right? But looking at the integration across all of them, that's unique, right? If we look at, so placement is tried, tested, true. Everyone knows they need to run ads on Amazon. Amazon is pay to play, fundamentally the case at this point. But looking at pricing, why does everyone's price need to stay the same? Right? That a lot of brands will always look at their price and say, well, this is how much it costs me. This is kind of my additional costs on top of that, and I want to make a 30% margin, right? And so it's really just a cost plus approach, right? But why
Mhm,
don't we take the same kind of methodology that airlines have been doing to us for so long, that Uber does to us all the time, right? The surge pricing, and as there's more demand, why not raise the price, right? And leverage that so that and leverage that for your products, right? That you can actually garner a lot more dollars in your profit, or even drive predictability by understanding the demand of your product at different price points. And
mhm,
so it's just going that one step further towards optimizing each one of those, even your
mhm.
promotion, right? Is it $1 off? Should I do $3 off, $5 off, 5%, 10%?
Yeah.
Most people don't know. They just kind of say, I need to move more inventory and I got some sitting on my shelves and I want to increase my sales here. Okay, well, you know what? Amazon's giving me a coupon. Great. I'm just gonna do, I think 5% is a good amount. I'm okay with losing 5% or dropping my price by 5%.
Mhm,
But how much is that gonna move for you? Could you have moved the same amount at 3%? Could you have moved more potentially at 7%, or understanding that data behind that, to
mhm,
then being like, and analyzing that to then being able to action and make concrete decisions off all of the data that keeps coming at you, is really what it's all about, right? And
mhm,
so to your point, it is unique in the sense that it's unique in the sense that giving tools and opportunities to brands and agencies that they're already doing, but just not doing it in a sense of leveraging the data that exists behind it, and all things that traditional brands and traditional and retailers do all the time, right? That you look at seasonality, right? That if you want to buy a barbecue, you're going to start seeing that in February in at the front of the store, right? You go and like that's it, just because they want to get in front of you, they want to do all that. So incorporating all of these strategies, these things that are happening in store that are tried, tested, and true, that whether or not, if I need to go to New York and I looked on Monday and it was cheaper, and then I looked on Tuesday it's more expensive, I'm still buying that flight, right? If I
Yeah,
really need that,
yeah.
I'm still going to get it. And so how do we leverage these things? Because we can like
Mhm.
that's the truth that the data exists. It's a matter of leveraging that data and then making those informed decisions from there, but thinking about it holistically as well.
Yeah.
And so
So
it's interesting.
just to make sure, your platform can actually reprice the item as well, right? Or
Yeah, yeah, we can, and so our AI will actually change the
mm-hmm,
price of the product based on, let's go with certain bounds, right? So
mm-hmm,
you can set a min price and a max price. You enter in your cost of goods sold. We'll pull your FBA fees in, and that'll be kind of the sandbox that it plays within. But it'll also give you, we have a slider actually, that you can go and say where do I need to go in any given month, right? That drive a strategy that I need more cash flow this month as a result of a lot of inventory coming in, and I need to clear out some product that I have.
yeah.
Great, let's move the slider over to the clearance side and get an idea of how many units that will move, how long it'll take to turn over the inventory that I currently have, and going thinking about it in that way more so than this is my price and this is what it is, and
I,
it's
I
fun.
mean, I really like it's like it looks like your software does like it has this helicopter view on a whole business. I mean, you
Exactly.
know your stock, you know how much you spend on ads, and then you can reprice the
Yeah,
item basically to adjust to your competitors. It's
yeah,
I really
and
like it. I haven't seen the software which does all of that in one. Even for our software, when we built custom repricer solutions, there were a lot of variables that we put into the play, but we never really integrated them with the advertisement API at the same time. So I really like this helicopter view that you are
yeah.
having on that.
And so let me ask you, when you're building those repricers, more often than not, and tell me I'm wrong, but it's how do I make sure that I'm always winning the buy box, for example? Right? Is that what, why, when people are coming to you and saying I need a repricer tool, what's it based off of? What are they looking to, why are they looking for that?
Yeah, usually when someone wants the custom repricer, this actually interesting thing is that they have their own like secret formulas that they
Yeah,
developed by studying Amazon for last 10, 15 years, right?
yeah,
So but I can tell you right now, we've never built the repricer that's actually also checking things like advertisement. Like we
yeah,
never connected the reprices to advertisement API, but this is super good actually when I think about it. I don't know why no one have thought about it from our clients. We've been like checking the historical data, for example, gathering data from Kipa. That was
yeah,
also very important metrics for us.
yeah.
Then always monitoring the buy box, checking the competitors.
Hmm.
But also, I think for the reprices, this is just not enough if you want to always win it, especially that Amazon makes you those delays for the reprices. I don't know if you're having like such a tool like you. What's the delay between putting new price on your
Yeah.
software and actually having it on Amazon? Because I can tell you that for us, there is no one single source of truth. We had reprices that were working after 1 minute. We have reprices that were working after 20 minutes, and till
Yeah.
now we haven't really realized why is it like this.
Yeah, and so for us, we were able to see the update of that price, and then able to read back and say was it accepted or not. And sometimes there's
Hmm.
MAP policies, right, minimum advertised policies that exist for different brands and different ways. And so we haven't run into that issue where it'll not work all of a sudden. And it's all about some certain implementations and how we look at that, but the main part around that pricing is it's when like you're talking about a repricer, the thing that we're trying to enable within the brands and agencies is talking about dynamic pricing, that your price is never static, right there. and
Hmm.
and and I think that the stat around it is there's 2.5 million price changes a day on Amazon, right? And so if your price is static, you're losing out because other competitors, other people are changing their price, and you're not reacting, or even forget reacting. How do you drive that, right? Like everyone's like, oh, my competitor's here. I just want to price a little bit below it so I can get all of those sales. But why can't you be the one to say that, Mike? I'm here. My competitor now wants to try and do something like that, right? So dynamic pricing is really what the strategy becomes, saying that I know what the minimum amount is that I can sell it for, and I know what I'm comfortable selling it at, and I know that this is kind of where the maximum I want to play, so I don't price myself out of the category by any means. And saying, well, how do I leveraging to make these changes on a day-to-day basis becomes quite challenging too, right? It's a
Oh
lot
yeah.
of data you're looking at and all that, but enabling that and saying that I need to change my thought process as to how I price my products to say that I don't need to keep it fixed by any means. I can go up or down depending on what strategy I'm trying to drive for my business. Right?
Yes.
Because how
And by
often
the
do
end
we
of the day, Amazon product will always win the buy box. So
Yeah, yeah. Amazon's gonna game it for themselves either way, right? Like they own all their own data. They own all the aspects. They know what's working, what's not working, and there's so many stories around that that exist, and brands that are like, oh, they're selling the exact same product, and there's nothing you can do about it, right? But fundamentally, it comes out to give yourself a chance at winning. You need to be doing these things,
definitely.
right?
And
And
and and for this, Ali, actually, I would love to hear some of the success stories of your clients. Could you tell how they started, how they are doing right now by using
yeah,
Trellis?
so there's so many. I'll look at kind of the other side, even look at merchandising as a whole, and we've talked about this quite extensively. I might actually pull up some stats here, but nonetheless, it's a lot of it is because we're looking at profit at the end of the day, and that's what they're driving. Um, we were able to for one of the companies that we work with, we were able to drive an additional 12% profit by
Oh,
optimizing across all
oh, yeah.
four of these P's, which is
And, and
huge.
w- and and when you say you manage to drive, like, how does it work? Is it just that you provide them with the tool, maybe some training they were using it, or did you also were managing their account?
No, they're all smart, capable individuals. And so we gave them some training on the platform, and we've been able to grow their business quite substantially. Where we look at growing top line revenue, and even if we look at our advertising, the variable that exists that we look at that's unique to us is that we're not just looking at getting that click or in that sale. We're also looking at in our algorithms and our AI is also looking at the most profitable way to get that as well. Right. And that's kind of something that's unique about our advertising AI and our advertising algorithms is that it's all about that profit. And so interstitching that with saying that these are the products that we have that we can look at variability of price. And I'll give you an example for this client that the actual end, their price, it was at their price for their products at about $140. And it was pretty standard as to where they were. And so their max price though, they were willing to go as much as 180, 190, and their minimum was about 130. And so based on the change that they saw, that the system saw in the market, it actually raised the price every so often up until about 170, 189. And once it hit 189, it was like, okay, well, there's not as much demand for the product anymore. And it dropped back down. But the dynamic pricing in the AI found a new baseline. That 140 and fluctuating around 140 wasn't really the baseline, was actually at around 170. And so that's an additional $30 that they're able to maintain and keep in their pocket. And so that's
Hmm.
all things that are just driving more profit, right? That extra $2 and in this scenario 30 for that one product just drove more profit that way, right? And understanding their promotions a bit better, that they were giving out 5% or 7% when they didn't need to, that actually 4% will drive the same results for them. That's an extra 3%. So optimizing at every single point across all four of these P's, right? Even product content, that updating their content based on words that are converting and showing them that visually to be able to optimize that in real time and seeing how things are moving in the market as well for those keywords across all of that. Each one of these optimizations is what end up driving that overall profit growth, right? That it's
Hmm.
not just one thing; it's all four, and being able to move the needle. But again, the only way to do that is to be able to understand the analysis of the data that's coming towards you through the platform. So that's probably the one that I'll look at. That's the most topical or the most recent one. Um, I had a
Hmm.
conversation about it today, but we're seeing that across the board, right? Like we get that all the time for customers that join us and that start with us, and people I meet at different shows and
Hmm.
hear me on different podcasts and stuff. And I'll get an email like, you're absolutely right. I don't know why I wasn't doing this before, or um, the performance is better as just as a sheer fact of factoring in profit into my
Oh yeah.
algorithm, into the
And
algorithm, the advertising algorithm.
I wonder what's the time that the user needs to spend basically. Is it like if I would be let's say if I were a
Yeah.
seller on Amazon and I would start using your software, should I just treat Trellis as my new operational center and just use it, and then how much of effort is it then,
Yeah.
compared to if I would just use Amazon?
Yeah, I think it actually makes it a lot easier. Like we streamline a lot of the components. By the time you go into downloading all the reports that Amazon gives you and do all that, you and then then you have to consolidate that data to actually have something that's meaningful there.
It's one of the most requested task
Yeah,
from us, actually, that someone just needs the data to their database, to their system. Like we did it so many times, so I understand that.
yeah. Like how many times are you connecting to a Power BI or a Looker, or I still call it Google Data Studio. It's hard for me to call
Oh
it
yeah.
Looker. How many times are you connecting that, right? You're connecting it directly there so people can analyze the data. And so what we create and how we look at at brands as a whole is saying that, well, what's the most important metrics, right? The first thing that I want to see when I log into the dashboard and when I'm evaluating my business to see where I need to spend my time is how many units have I moved? What's my total sales? What's my margin? What's my ad spend? What's my A cost potentially as well? And seeing that right at the top. But where we come in as well is we say that your entire catalog, everything there are groupings that exist within your catalog, right? And so whether it be collections or whatever, you may look at that and you evaluate not just individual products, you evaluate that whole collection as a whole, and then you dive into deeper products. And so
Hmm.
we organize the view of that across, and there's so many different data points that you can choose to add in there, but we organize that based on catalogs, based on collections within your catalog,
Hmm.
to then be able to dive in deeper. And we actually show you trends, right? That sales are up, margins down,
Oh
and vice
yes.
versa, and showing you those trends to then be able to action specific things. Because you don't, so especially when you have 100 products, 1,000 products, whatever it may be, 1,000 ASINs, like how do you look at every single one every single day? You can't do that. You just
No
can't.
way, no way.
You want to look
Definitely, you need a good analytics tool. I mean, every seller needs that. Um, I
it's
just
that.
wanted to ask you actually regarding your AI, because you start mentioning this topic. I just left it for later.
Yeah,
So seasonality. I recently had also like I had a guest on the podcast.
yeah,
They were also at Prosper Show, actually XMars. So this is also the AI advertisement management
yeah, yeah,
product. And I remember when I was talking actually on the podcast that there's a huge problem for AI to understand seasonality. I mean,
yeah.
there's so many different occasions, special days, and I just wonder how it does work for you. Like, do you have some manual events that you put into the calendar, then the AI reacts for it, or how does it work for you?
Yeah.
Because for now you cannot predict it, right?
And that's the interesting part is that when you look at AI and exactly what you said, right? You can't predict your seasonality. But what you can look at is when you look at your historical data, you can see the trends that exist,
Hmm.
right? So as long as, and like our AI will actually look at the historical data there.
As also for different products, there are different seasons.
Exactly,
So.
exactly. And that becomes the nuance, right? That even as you as an individual brand owner, how do I know what my own seasonality is? And excuse me, most people don't. Right? They just know, okay, well, then they might have some idea towards that. They know sales went up here, but how do you plan for that as well? And so, from our standpoint, looking at historical data, we're not looking at the anomalies. We're looking at a standardized view of that data across the time horizon to be able to say there is a larger uptick here, whereas here, because you can even have seasonality in a week period, right? Whether depending on your product,
Totally.
that people
Yeah.
buy Monday to Thursday, or and they don't buy on the weekends, right? And so leveraging that type of understanding and our AI understanding the historical data of your product, can inform how it performs in the future, right?
I like it.
And so it's repeated. That's the biggest part, because seasonality is something that happens consistently, right? Anomalies are things that happen once.
Oh
And
yeah.
so our AI looks for the repeated nature of that, not necessarily just the one-offs, because that one-off can skew everything for you otherwise. And so having a strong data
And
science team and understanding the statistical analysis of all these things is really where they spend their time too, right? In terms
100%.
across all of our.
Um, Ali, I just wanted to ask you actually one more time, one more question regarding the other marketplaces. I just checked your website, and it seems like you also connect to Walmart and Google Shopping.
Yeah,
Could you tell a
exactly.
little bit more about that as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Like Walmart is one that we actively support, and have been supporting for some time there. As they continuously evolve their APIs, will be able to offer more and more elements towards that too. And so between each of those marketplaces, whether it be Google Shopping as well, and to be honest, Google Shopping is actually only valuable for a certain type of brand, and we've been
I
able to
just
work
wanted
with.
to ask you. I've never really used that. Is it big
Yeah,
in US or in Canada?
it's definitely bigger. Like I know that I've actually shifted my shopping behavior probably in the last 3 or 4 months. But I used to start my shopping search on Google, but now it's all Amazon. I start on Amazon first, and then I look everywhere else after. But Google Shopping works for particular brands in certain markets. There are limitations towards that marketplace, and we support it to for certain brands and certain D2C stores that actually are would benefit from it. We don't
Hmm.
like to kind of.
But is it the same platform then? Like, could you be a seller on three of those at the same time and use just one piece of tech, or how
Exactly.
does it
On
work?
our platform, you actually can choose between which marketplace you want, whether it be Amazon or Walmart, or Google Shopping, and then streamlining the data there, right? So the visualization of that data, and how you ingest as a user and view that, keeping a consistent view across all of that is really what we try to do, so that whether you're in Amazon or you're in Walmart doesn't make a difference. You're able to see both. You're able to understand what you're looking at right away, and again, there's nuances towards each one and particulars, but at the very least, being able to streamline your experience of being able to understand the visualization of that data allows you to action it much better, and much
Hmm.
faster as well. So we consolidate all of that into one experience. So if you log in, whether you're an agency or a brand, if you have multiple seller accounts, multiple vendor accounts, supporting multiple geographies
Oh, so
across.
you also support the vendors.
Exactly, yeah, yeah. We
That's
support
awesome.
both sides of that. So for us, it's you're able to go into an experience, choose which channel, whether it be Amazon, Walmart, Google Shopping, choose which marketplace you want and which account you want to focus on at any given point in time. And so the experience is consistent, and you're not logging into like five different things. But
Hmm.
we're trying to remove those barriers for people to spend time on looking at and driving strategies for the whole of their business, and then focusing in where they need to, as well. And that's kind of the ethos of our user experience and how we've created it as well.
Hmm. Totally. I really like it. And do you see any other new marketplace that is currently booming and you actually plan to integrate with, or for now it just
Yeah,
those three?
we have a bunch of marketplaces on our roadmap. We're looking at kind of going across all marketplaces and adding them in terms of where I think that if we're looking at, if you're a brand and you're listening to this, if you're not already playing on, if you're especially if you're selling in the United States, if you're not playing on Amazon and Walmart, and including Walmart into that mix, then you are there. You're missing out on opportunities for sure. But it's really like if you look at the kind of the breakdown between marketplaces, it's like 90 to 95% is on Amazon, and then about 5 to 7% in between there is Walmart, and then 2% everywhere
Yeah.
else. And Walmart's only growing more and more in that way.
I
So
I just had a one episode actually with Ryan King, who's running the Walmart agency, and we also had a very nice conversation about
yeah,
Walmart and basically how is it right now. I mean, it's like Amazon a few years ago. It's a golden opportunity right now, and everyone just who stays on one marketplace pretty much losing it. It's like leaving
exactly.
money on the table.
He's absolutely right. Right, like that's Walmart's grown. It is consistently growing. There are more opportunities, less competitors, and it's really where Amazon was. I would say probably 2018,
Oh yeah.
um, 2018, give or take. And so it's a good place to get into and to drive additional sales, because at the end of the day, your goal, and you look at that as well. You look at all these bigger brands; they're everywhere. They're at every retailer, and so why not go in a similar fashion? And so I'm a big proponent of being able to say that, or being able to look at both channels at the very least. Those are your
Oh
top two.
yes.
Everything else can come across later, but you got to do both at this point, to drive profits at the end of the day, right?
So if yeah, pretty much for all of you who listen to this, if you're right now on Amazon and you want to expand to Walmart, I would highly recommend using Trellis for that. I mean, you can
Yeah,
just
yeah.
handle two channels and one software, so that would be perfect.
Yeah, and anyone looking to
Great.
drive profit and drive growth in that way, It's things that you're probably already doing, but doing them in a framework manner that allows you to analyze an action across all four of those P's. Right, merchandising is not new to the world, but it is new to sellers, and to think about it in that lens. And so, agency or brand, we're here to power your operations across the board.
Awesome. Ali, thanks a lot. Just for some last words, do you have anything to share with the audience where people can find you, how people can start using Trellis?
Yeah, you go trellis.com, take a look there, start there. Hit me up on LinkedIn as well. Happy to kind of share there. And if you mention the podcast, we'll be sure to take care of you too.
Perfect. I'll make sure to put all of the details in the description so you can also find it there.
Yeah,
And yeah,
throw my booking
Ali,
link in there as well. Happy to talk to everyone.
perfect. Thank you a lot. And I see you in the next one.
Sounds good. Thanks, Jacob. Talk soon.